Good morning. So that was I was away for a week there in Egypt, and I haven't done a morning ramble since then, obviously. Yeah, it was fantastic, and I've got a book reading list that I took with me. Quite a bizarre list, so wait, I'll tell you more about that in a second. So yeah, Sharm el Sheikh, where the Russian plane was shot down by ISIS about it's 2015. So I kind of put that in the back of my mind because it was a great deal, all inclusive, and it was a fantastic break. And it was, big space, its own beach, and plenty of pools, and I just relaxed. And I did get a bit of sunstroke, on which I took off my t-shirt one day when it was windy, and I just, schoolboy error, and ended up burnt, but and I didn't feel good for a few days, and I got a stomach bug on another day as well, so it has been a bit rough, but nevertheless, I caught up on my sleep, that's for sure, and just had a really relaxing time, so it's fantastic. Anyway, my reading list, let me tell you more about this. So, we are in the state of crisis, I would call it, maybe. The Russia-Ukraine thing going on at the moment. Fairly big deal. My view is actually history is being written right now, and this is the event. We are inside this bubble, which is basically pre-World War III. And I'm fairly. Some Glaswegian friend of mine said the other day there, being Scottish, I'm a pessimistic optimist, or was it an optimistic pessimist? One of the two. But yeah, I do, hope for the best but plan for the worst. And so my planning, and I bought this particular book about 2 years ago. When it first came out. It was written by Catherine Belton, who is the Russian correspondent, or was the Russian correspondent for the Financial Times. So, clever lady, knows her stuff. And she wrote this book, which is Putin's People, how the KGB took back Russia and then took on the West. I mean, talk about prophecy. And it's a mighty tome, and I didn't get through all of it, but I thought that was a good time to read it now. And what can I say? He's and all his colleagues, Abramovich is mentioned in it, and all of the entire oligarch community, if there is such a thing, took her to court, as you'd imagine, suggesting that she'd fabricated some of the information there. They lost, apart from, I think, Abramovich got one or two lines changed, I believe. This copy is pre-change. So if you do buy it again, then I can tell you what it really says if you really want to know. But just the mayor of St. Petersburg, wasn't a very pleasant person, and he got there through various means that nobody in the normal world would actually go through. So anyway. He's been there for 20 years. While we were fighting Y2K, he was shaking Yeltsin's hand and taking over. So fascinating as it is, and know your enemy is obviously an important thing in life. And we need to know about him. The other one I did is and again, these aren't these cheery books. Look at this one. This is on holiday as well. Leadership in War, Andrew Roberts. Yeah, this guy, he summarises everyone, from Napoleon to Nelson, Even Thatcher's got a mention in there. Now, it doesn't say great leaders, it says lessons from those who made history. You know, it wasn't actually not all the great leaders, because he talks about Hitler, Stalin as well. But it's fascinating, just his view on just what made them leaders in their own time frame. Fascinating stuff. Now, and obviously you got to know who you're dealing with again, and I think the future copies, someone like Putin might be in there. Now, who else will be in there? Macron, Johnson? I don't know who's going to sort of surface as the West's winner, but it'll be interesting to watch and see it develop. Biden even, he's made some very good statements over the last couple of weeks, which is him getting out of his shell. Good, well done. Will he, sort of take it to the next level? We'll soon see. Now, if we all survive all of that, Tony Robbins, this has just come out, Life Force. Now, I'm a big fan of Tony, been on lots of his stuff. I've walked on his calls. Even though I said I wouldn't, I would just go, I'm just checking. I want to go and see what it's like, because I was into it, NLP at the time, and it's about, 15, 20 years ago I went there. I'm not going to go and walk on calls, that's a lot of nonsense. And then you get into his energy and you go, okay, all right, well, maybe I'll give it a try. And then you go out and you sort of take your shoes off and you walk in, sort of hard surfaces, so your feet are getting, sort of a bit sore anyway. So, and then it was raining, so you've got actually, the rain was cooling your feet as well. So, with all of that, and saying cool moss up in your head, looking up, not look down, looking up, saying cool moss, and then walking over the coals, I survived. For whatever reason. I don't know how I did it. It was probably 10 seconds of fear of my life. But hey, that's Tony Robbins for you, and I would recommend going on I've been on during lockdown. I went on 2 of his Zoom sessions for Unleash the Power Within. 2, they were only a couple £100 or something like that, but they're so valuable. I mean, and you see them all jumping up and down. You think, what a bunch of fools, and then you end up jumping up and down as well, because in order to change, in order to actually make sure you're kind of keeping your mental health, you've got to have a bit of energy. So moving is also part of the change process, and you need change especially if you're in a regular routine, working from home, and you need to shake it all up a bit. So I recommend this book. Now, this particular one is all about, if we survive long enough, technology is actually going to catch up, and things like stem cell research, things like CRISPR, the DNA tool, all of those new technologies that are coming down the way will actually make our lives longer. So keep up until this technology goes. So keep yourself healthy until you get there. Avoid the Russian-Ukraine war, and we might live to over 100, and if you're lucky. And that's that one. Now, one I don't have is, because I lost it at the airport, would you believe? Bizarre thing though, because this book is called Never Split the Difference, and it was suggested to me by a good Glaswegian friend, and I thought, okay, it's about time I started reading this, and it was fantastic. It's about an FBI negotiator. I don't read I only read non-fiction. I had to get it right there. I don't read fiction. My brain's doesn't cope with non-fiction, and if I said that wrong, fact and fiction. Oh dear, too early in the morning to cope with that. You know what I mean. Anyway, so I Never Split the Difference is a great little book, because it's real life. It's basically an FBI negotiator. He goes in and gets people in Harlem who are shooting at each other, and stops them shooting and gets them out of those environments. Now, if we use some of his ideals in our day-to-day life, you'll find big changes, as I did, because halfway through it, it coaches you going into saying, you use some of these techniques, and you use the technique. One of the techniques I used on my wife, and it worked amazing. I'm like, oh, that worked. And then another one I tried on an airplane on the way back. And I didn't mean to try. It wasn't a case of, oh, I'm going to try it now. It just spontaneously came out after I'd obviously soaked in the knowledge. And basically people behind me on the plane, two middle-class, elderly, white man and woman, I would say about the late 60s or something like that, are standing up, shouting, I mean literally shouting, over to the other seat further over, and there was three Egyptian, I think they were talking in the Egyptian language, and they were non-white. I think I would probably put them in Asian, Egyptian, and I thought, is this a race thing going on? But then I remembered I seen these young girls on the bus, and I'd mentioned to my wife that this is what teenage girls look like going on holiday without their parents, because they were yattering, which is it's what teenage girls do, but they're yattering in their own language and at an increased level. So this must have been what annoyed them. And I thought, and my wife had said at the time, yeah, oh bless them, because we've got she's got teenage. My stepdaughter, she's got teenage daughters, so I thought, yeah, that's just normal. So I was part protective of the young girls, but also was wondering why they were so, out of the normal, shouting. So then I said 5 words that calmed everything down without blame on any particular side, and everything settled down. After using the techniques in that particular book, Never Split the Difference. Fantastic book. Go and get it, and it'll change a lot of the things that you do in life. So that's my reading list. Yeah, as you can see, it was quite, I didn't even get to read. Like I took this book, my favourite. This is number 1. This gets bought every month. It's almost like an experience going down into W.H. Smith or something. I used to get a subscription, but it's not as good going into the W.H. Smith and looking for it on the shelf and going, yes, just like a little kid going in and getting his comic. So, and as this month was, as you can see in the background, in Tower Bridge. Now I've seen, this is Moon Sand, and I've seen Moon Sand. As soon as I find out there's a yacht down at Tower Bridge, I always go along and take some pictures. So I got some pictures over. It's a beautiful yacht, and I didn't even get to read this. But there, that was my reading list on for the last week. Now, finally, just wanted to let you know, I'm also doing a radio podcast, or a podcast. It's talking music. So to us oldies, it would be called radio show, because it's very similar to something on maybe a Radio 2, where talking about a record and then they introduce it and they call it a record rather than a track or a tune. Anyway, it's called lomanradio.com. So go on it and come and subscribe. And I talk a lot of nonsense at times, but I talk about 70s, 80s, 90s music, and then all the things that I kind of love in life, like film, theatre, technology, obviously, and yachts. So come along and join us, lomanradio.com. But this has been good talking to you again. I'm back in action. It's 8:30 in the morning. I've replied to all my emails this morning already. I'm fired up. I've dropped my wife off. She goes into London today, so I've dropped her off. Noticed her. She's got a friend that she always goes out with, and she's omnipresent in the local area. And I seen her and I'm like, oh right. So I said, can you contact my wife and go out with her? She needs a bit of cheering up after that holiday. We're going back to work at the moment, thinking, do we really want to work? It's quite hard, isn't it? You come right down after a holiday and you realise, wow, I needed that holiday. But actually ramping back up takes a bit of effort. So anyway, you enjoy your day, and I'll see you in the next what do I call these? Morning ramble? Yeah, that's it.